So on my last J.K. Rowling video regarding her essay, I had planned to kind of react to it as I was reading it, like I did with the Amy Diaz article, but I got too fired up and I just ended up reading the whole thing out loud, and that was it. And a lovely commenter, Beatrix Kid Video, I hope I said that right, asked if I was going to give my reactions to it because she wanted to hear them. So that was very nice to have that support. And I guess I will try to now. I don't know if I will have any real reactions because it'll just be like me saying, yep, I agree, yep, sounds good. Like, so let's see here. Whoops. Let me see here. Okay, so JK's essay started talking about her tweeting her support for Maya Forstater back in December. And I remember that moment when she did make those tweets. It was such an exciting, refreshing moment. I made a video about it at that time. You can find that on my channel, but I just remember being like, oh, like I had thought that Magdalene, oh my God, Magdalene Burns on my mind. I had thought that JK was probably coming in our direction based on that previous like and following Magdalene Burns. But when she tweeted her support for Maya, I was like, whoa, here we go. Like JK Rowling has entered the chat. JK in her essay talked again about that time she liked a tweet and, you know, the uproar that caused. Yeah. When she said, what I didn't expect in the aftermath of my cancellation was the avalanche of emails and letters that came showering down upon me, the overwhelming majority of which were positive, grateful, and supportive. Nice to know. I mean, it's always nice to know that there are other women and men out there who agree with this stuff, you know? That's always nice. I really appreciated that she directly addressed the word TERF and what it stands for. And also that she made sure to make note that what she said here is a huge and diverse cross-section of women are currently being called TERFs, and the vast majority have never been radical feminists. Yeah, that really spoke to me. I mean, I am a radical feminist, so I guess it fits. But you see the word TERF flung at any person who dissents the common held belief about what transgenderism is. You see men get called TERF, which that's literally an oxymoron. It's impossible. A man cannot be a radical feminist, therefore he cannot be a TERF. I mean, I don't think any woman is a TERF. That's a slur. It's a word that is used for a specific purpose, which is shutting women up. But like, you know, you see it used against all kinds of people who are not radical feminists, like, or you see women called TERF when they're just like extreme right-wing Christian homophobic idiots. Clearly those women are not radical feminists. So yeah, TERF has lost all its meaning. I'm glad that JK addressed that in her essay. I found though that overall I found her essay to be incredibly compassionate and kind and nice, and frankly accommodating. You know, she agreed that trans women probably suffer, trans women are vulnerable, that kind of thing. And I found her to be incredibly more nice and kind and compassionate and accommodating than I would ever be. So it frustrates me that people will talk about the evils in her essay and don't read it because it's just trash and it's transphobic. And I'm like, yeah, clearly these people are not reading the essay because it was very gentle. She could have gone off the deep end and been, you know, like me, for example, who I am very comfortable in saying that trans women are men, trans women are not women, they will never be women, and I will never call them a woman. But she didn't do that. She was very nice and gentle and whatever. Something I would never do, but good for her. Good for her. And I think obviously she used that as a tool to hope that more people would read her essay, because, you know, if she is as nice and gentle and compassionate as she was, like, what can people argue? But I mean, we are seeing that people are arguing with it anyway. Ugh. What else? I'm just scrolling, sorry. I did appreciate what she said here. The writings of young trans men reveal a group of notably sensitive and clever people. Yeah, agreed. I think trans-identified females, aka trans men, are typically more insightful, more understanding, more level-headed, and less likely to be perverted fetishists, which I think more trans women than not are. That was nice for her to say. And the introspection of, if I'd been born 30 years later, I too might have tried to transition. I thought that was really powerful for her to share. And I get where she's coming from for sure. She says, the allure of escaping womanhood would have been huge. Yeah. If I'd found community and sympathy online that I couldn't find in my immediate environment, I believe I could have been persuaded to turn myself into a son that my father would have preferred. Yeah. Being a girl sucks. Being a young girl, a teenage girl, it sucks in so many different ways. And if you could find this community, like she said, of people online who all agree with you and support you and validate you, it certainly would be and is easy to go this route. She also mentioned, though, that the NHS Tavistock Clinic has had a 4,400% increase in girls seeking transition services. Like, that number alone has to tell you that something is going on here beyond some sort of innate gender identity internally. To have a 4,000% increase clearly means that it's some kind of a social thing, you know, a social contagion, if you will. Ugh, God, people, where to start? Let's see, what else does she say? I did like that she said, as many women have said before me, woman is not a costume. Woman is not an idea in a man's head. Woman is not a pink brain, a liking for Jimmy Choos, or any of the other sexist ideas now somehow touted as progressive. Yeah. Moreover, the inclusive language that calls female people menstruators and people with vulvas strikes many women as dehumanizing and demeaning. I understand why trans activists consider this language to be appropriate and kind, but for those of us who've had degrading slurs spat at us by violent men, it's not neutral. It's hostile and alienating. Yeah. Thank you, J.K. Rowling. We've been saying this for ever, that to call us menstruators or ovary havers or people with vaginas, like, that's, you know, when trans activists talk about how a radical feminist belief in sex and gender is reducing people to their bodies or their body parts, I'm like, wait a second, but you guys are calling us menstruators, ovary havers, vagina owners. Who's doing what with body parts here? It's certainly not us. We're just stating that biologically women have female bodies. But y'all are calling us vagina owners. Like, okay. I mean, are we surprised at the hypocrisy and double standards? No. Let's see what else. JK talked about her previous experience in an abusive relationship, which was incredibly vulnerable and brave of her to do. I think, yeah, I mean, we know a little bit about her life and what she's been through, but for her to share that part was just another layer of the woman she is and how she's come to believe the things she believes today. Here's one of the very nice and kind and gentle things she said. I believe the majority of trans-identified people not only pose zero threat to others, but are vulnerable for all the reasons I've outlined. Trans people need and deserve protection. Like women, they're most likely to be killed by sexual partners. Trans women who work in the sex industry, particularly trans women of color, are at particular risk. Like every other domestic abuse and sexual assault survivor I know, I feel nothing but empathy and solidarity with trans women who've been abused by men. I mean, same. Like, violence at the hands of anyone is not acceptable. So, yeah, when you hear about trans women of color, primarily in the sex industry, who are, killed, of course that's awful. Anyone dying because of violence is not a good thing. So I guess, yeah, I do understand that, and I do agree with that. He goes on to say, I want trans women to be safe. At the same time, I do not want to make natal girls and women less safe. Yeah, I agree. When you throw open the doors of bathrooms and changing rooms to any man who believes or feels he's a woman, then you open the door to any and all men who wish to come inside. Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, when it comes to bathrooms, change rooms, sports, colleges, shelters, whatever, trans women aren't women. They do not belong in women's spaces. Regardless, I don't care if they've had fully done surgery, I don't care how long they've been on hormones. I don't care what their birth certificate says. Even if a trans woman has gone through years of hormones, changed his birth certificate, has had full surgery on his penis, I don't care. He's not a woman, and he can't come into women's spaces. So I think the only way forward, because I honestly don't see this issue going away, is a third bathroom change room, whatever option, wherein there's men's rooms, women's rooms, and neutral or other or all or whoever feels comfortable going in that one. But no matter what a trans woman has done, I'm not down with him being in women's spaces. And like J.K. Rowling said, it gives grounds to any and all men who want to come in. People say, like, no one's going to pretend to be trans to, well, it doesn't matter if you think that or not. And because when the permission is there for some kinds of men who have had, a gender recognition certificate change, when you have permissions for some kinds of men to come in, that gives way to all kinds of men being allowed to come in. So no, sorry, not sorry. What else did she say? Talked about how she got called transphobic, a cunt, a bitch, a TERF, deserved canceling, punching, and death. Someone called her Voldemort. Okay. Voldemort was literally a murderous psychopath who did atrocities to human beings. But all JK did was post some words on Twitter, but she's Voldemort also. Okay. She goes on with some gentle, nice kindness. Of course, trans rights are human rights, and of course, trans lives matter. Yeah, I agree, but, like, the thing about trans rights is, like, trans people are not denied any human rights that any other person has. Human rights are called human rights because they are applied to all humans. We all, at least in Canada where I live, and the USA, most of the Western world, regardless of trans identity or not, you have the same human rights. You're not being denied any human rights. So when they're talking about trans rights, what they're really talking about is trans permissions or privileges to get what they want, which, no, you got human rights. You don't need any special ones. Let's see. She says, I refuse to bow down to a movement that I believe is doing demonstrable harm in seeking to erode woman as a political and biological class and offering cover to predators. Yeah, I agree completely. That's exactly what the trans rights movement is doing. I stand alongside the brave women and men, gay, straight, and trans, who are standing up for freedom of speech and thought and for the rights and safety of some of our most vulnerable. Yep. Freedom of speech is something that I've always pretty much believed in, but I would say in the last year to year and a half, I have really dug in my heels on that one. The freedom to speak your mind is pretty much the most important right that anyone has. I think it's, the number one, to be able to say what you want or what you feel is right. And that, I'm a free speech absolutist. That means, as evil and awful as I feel they are, my belief in free speech extends to alt-right Nazis. It extends to fucking Donald Trump. It extends to racists and murderers and whatever. Because if someone else's free speech can be taken from them, so can mine. So as vile and evil and disgusting as I think that some people can be and are, I have to uphold my belief in free speech, bottom line, no matter what. So yeah, free speech is very important. Then JK wraps up her essay. Before she wrapped it up, actually, she said, "The supreme irony is that the attempt to silence women with the word TERF may have pushed more young women towards radical feminism than the movements seen in decades. I certainly hope so. I hope to see an influx of new, younger women being like, you know what? No, I read JK's essay and I agree. I really hope that that's what happens. I haven't personally seen anybody say that they have peaked because of JK's essay, but I also don't spend a lot of time in online spaces other than Instagram. So, but yeah, that's my hope as well. Okay, so then she wraps up her essay saying she doesn't want people to see her as a victim. She's not a victim. She mentions her past because she has a complex backstory which shaped her interests and her opinions, like all of us. And she says, all I want is for similar empathy, understanding to be extended to the many millions of women whose sole crime is wanting their concerns to be heard without receiving threats and abuse. Yeah. Women cannot get heard in this world because we receive threats and abuse. Which is, another reason why I am all for free speech is you have to be able to say what you think, what you want to say. I don't know how great this reaction is or whatever, but oh god, 18 minutes. My 2 J.K. Rowling videos now are the longest I've ever made. I always try to keep my things under 10. I feel weird about posting videos this long. Who wants to listen to this? Who wants to hear someone yammer on for this long? Good God. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Have a great day. Bye.